Give me 10 minutes and I'll teach you 10 chess traps every beginner must know. Trap 1. Noah's Ark Trap. White starts by pushing the pawn controlling the center. Black does the same. White develops the knight attacking the pawn. Black develops the knight defending the pawn. White develops the bishop, also known as the Roy Lopez opening, with the idea of to simply castle up. Black pushes the pawn attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back, now pushing the pawn to d6, trying to open up the light square bishop and also protecting the pawn in the center. White strikes in the center with d4. Threat is to push the pawn, attack the knight, and also opening up the dark square bishop. Black pushes the pawn to b5, attacking the bishop. The bishop is forced to go back, and now we have a trade on d4. Knight takes, pawn takes, and queen takes. And after queen cross d4, we have c5, attacking the queen. White plays queen to d5, attacking the rook and also threatening a mate on f7. Black plays bishop to e6, defending the rook with the queen and also attacking the queen. The queen have to go somewhere, so queen to c6 check. The bishop goes back, attacking the queen once again. The queen goes to d5, but this time the rook is already defended. So now we are going to play the move c4, attacking the bishop. And now you will realize white's bishop is not really having any square available and the bishop is trapped. Black is going to be a piece up and going to win the game. Trap 2. Legal's Mate. White starts by pushing the pawn controlling the center. Black does the same. White develops the knight attacking the pawn. Black develops the knight defending the pawn. White develops the bishop. Black pushes the pawn trying to open up the light square bishop. White develops the knight, and now black develops the bishop trying to pin up the knight. White pushes the pawn attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back trying to keep the pin alive, but now knight cross e5, sacrificing the queen on d1. But now comes bishop cross f7 check. The king is forced to go on e7, and knight to d5 is a checkmate. Trap 3. Cambridge Spring Trap. White starts by pushing the queen pawn, controlling the center. Black does the same. White pushes the pawn to c4, also known as the queen's gambit. Capturing the pawn would not be a great idea, as after e4 white is having full center control. Going back, instead of capturing the pawn, playing the move e6, trying to open up the dark square bishop and also controlling the center. White develops the knight, black develops the knight, and now white develops the bishop trying to pin the knight. And now black plays the move knight b to d7, self-pinning the pawn to the queen. And now allowing white to capture the pawn. Pawn takes, and now white simply grabs the pawn on d5, thinking that we cannot really capture the knight because the queen is hanging on d8. But we take the knight, sacrificing the queen, but now bishop to b4 check. And now white queen is forced to come in between, takes, and we simply capture the bishop and just count the material. Black is a piece up with a total winning position. Trap 4. Laska Trap. White starts by pushing the queen pawn to d4, d5, and a c4, the queen's gambit. Black plays the move e5, sacrificing his own pawn and now pushing the pawn to d4. The pawn on d4 looks a bit annoying to the opponent, so he tries to get rid of it by playing the move e3. But now bishop to b4 check. The bishop comes in between, attacking the bishop. D cross e3, sacrificing the bishop for free. But now e cross f2 check. The king cannot really capture the pawn because the queen is hanging on d1. So going back, instead the king have to go on e2. But now f cross g1 knight check. The rook have to capture it back, but now bishop to g4 check. The king goes back, and now simply queen cross d1. Black is a queen up with a total winning position. Trap 5. Rubinstein Trap. White starts by pushing the queen pawn to d4, d5. White develops the knight. Black does the same. And now white plays c4, the queen's gambit. Black pushes the pawn. White develops the bishop trying to pin up the knight. Black develops the knight. White pushes the pawn trying to open up the light square bishop. Black develops the bishop trying to castle up on the next move. White develops the knight. Black castles up. White develops the rook. Black develops the rook. White develops the queen. Black plays a6. The idea is to capture the pawn on the next move and play b5. So white first take on d5, e5, and now white simply develops the bishop. Black pushes the pawn trying to keep the pawn structure good. White simply castle up, and now black centralizes the knight attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back, and now white's threat is to capture the knight. So black tries to protect it by playing the move f5. And now knight cross d5, sacrificing the knight. C cross g5, but now bishop to c7 traps the queen, and white is completely winning. Trap 6. Siberian Trap. White starts by pushing the pawn in the center e4. Black plays c5, the Sicilian defense, and now white plays d4. Black takes it, and now white plays c3, also known as the Smith-Morra gambit, sacrificing the pawn, knight cross c3, and a knight to c6. White develops the knight to f3. Black pushes the pawn to e6, trying to develop the dark square bishop. White develops the light square bishop. Black develops the queen. White castles up. Black develops the knight. White develops the queen. Black develops the knight to g4. Now white is a bit irritated by the knight, so white tries to push the knight with h3. But now knight goes to d4, attacking the queen and the knight at the same time. If knight cross d4, now queen h2 is a checkmate, game over. And going back, if the queen goes back to d1, knight cross f3 is still a check, you have to take it, and after queen h2 the game is still a checkmate. Trap 7. Fazarov's gambit. White starts by pushing the queen pawn to d4. Black develops the knight, controlling the center. Black pushes the pawn to c4. Black plays e5, sacrificing the pawn and now centralizing the knight to e4. White develops the knight on f3, trying to defend the pawn, and now black plays d6, once again sacrificing another pawn. Black recaptures it back, and now g3, with the idea of simply developing the bishop to g2 and castle up. But now, knight cross f2, capturing the pawn on f2, attacking the rook and the queen. The king is not really having much but to take the knight, and now bishop cross g3 check. You have to take the bishop, and now queen cross d1, and black is queen up with a total winning position. Trap 8. Blackburn shilling trap. White starts by playing the move e4. Black does the same, controlling the center. White develops the knight, attacking the pawn. Black develops the knight, defending the pawn. White develops the bishop, and now black plays a shocking move, knight to d4, moving the same piece twice. White sees the opportunity and captures the free pawn on e5, also attacking the pawn on f7. Black develops the queen to g5, attacking the knight on e5 and also the pawn on g2. White simply captures the pawn on f7, attacking the queen and the rook. But now queen cross g2, simply attacking the rook. The rook is forced to go on f1, but now queen cross e4 check. It's a check. The bishop has to forcefully fall back to e2, but now knight f3 is a checkmate. That's a game over. The bishop cannot really capture the knight back because the bishop is pinned and the game is over. Trap 9. Budapest gambit, smoother trap. White starts by controlling the center with d4. Black develops the knight. White pushes the pawn to c4, and now black plays e5, also known as the Budapest gambit, sacrificing the pawn for free. Black goes knight to g4, attacking the pawn. White develops the bishop, defending the pawn. Black develops the knight, attacking the pawn once again. White defends it once again, and now bishop to b4 check. The knight goes to d2, and now queen to e7. Now there is no good way to defend the pawn on e5, so white plays a3, attacking the bishop. But now, knight cross e5, giving up the bishop for free. And once white captures it, now knight to d3 is a checkmate. You can't really capture the knight because the e-pawn is pinned, and that's game over. Trap 10. Fishing pole trap. White starts by pushing the king pawn to e4, controlling the center. Black does the same. White develops the knight, attacking the pawn. Black develops the knight, defending the pawn. And now white develops the bishop. Black pushes the pawn, attacking the bishop. And now bishop tries to capture the knight. We recapture it, and now white castles out. Instead of castle, many of the beginners would love to capture the pawn. But after queen d4, we can happily recapture the pawn, and black is absolutely fine. So going back, castle up, making the king safe, and now bishop to g4, pinning up the knight. White is annoyed by the pin, so h3, attacking the bishop, but now h5, sacrificing the bishop. We recapture the pawn, attacking the knight. The knight have to move, queen to h4, threatening a maiden one on h1. White plays f4, making a square for the king to go on f2. But now g3, simply taking away the square, and now the checkmate is unstoppable. Rook e1, queen h1 is a checkmate, and that's it.